Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Yearout. I'm the Director of Innovation for Ivar's Restaurants. Oh, there I am. So my topic today is hospitality for everyone, and I'm going to start with a few questions. How many people here are visiting Nashville for the very first time? Wow, so maybe a little less than half or so. Okay, great. How many people here hate broccoli? Can't stand broccoli. Okay, a smaller group, but a correct group. It does taste terrible. And how many people here are over the age of 30? Over the age of 30 now. Keep your hand up if you're over the age of 30, but you look so young, you've recently been carded when buying alcohol. Wow, some very good genes out here in the audience. Okay, so I could go on and on with these types of questions because there are innumerable ways in which we can categorize people or describe them or put them into different groups. But one of the most common ways we do so, especially when meeting folks for the very first time, is by gender. It's visual, it's universal, and traditionally been very easy to put people into one of two camps, male or female. But here in 2019, it's not as easy as it used to be because more and more people are identifying with genders outside of male or female. Now, please note, I'm not talking about sex here. Sex is a term which traditionally has been used interchangeably with gender, but which we now know is very distinct and very different. Sex refers to the biological or genetic makeup of a person, and gender is more about their identity, how they present themselves to the outside world, and the role that they play in society. So that could be as a male, it could be as a female, it could be as some combination of the two, or it could be neither. Take a look at these survey results from GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. It shows gender identity by different generations. And you can see here in the older two generations, 97% of the people who responded to this survey consider themselves to be cisgender. Now that means that their gender identity aligns with their birth sex, okay? And 3% consider themselves to be of diverse gender, or gender nonconforming. That means that their gender identity does not align with their birth sex. So they could consider themselves to be non-binary. That means not one of the two, not male or female. They could be gender queer, gender neutral, gender fluent, or transgender. So 3% in the older generations. That number doubles to 6% when we move down to Generation X, and then it doubles again to 12% when we get to the millennial generation. And that 12% is huge for us in the hospitality world because anywhere from 40 to 60% of our workforce comes from the millennial generation. So in addition to increasing in number, they've also been increasing in legal recognition. Here's a map of the US, hopefully you can see it way in the back, showing the states where you can get a driver's license or an ID card or a birth certificate or some combination of the three and not be forced to choose male or female as your gender. You might be able to choose non-binary, again, not one of the two. Sometimes it's a third option and sometimes it just prefer not to answer. The green states added this possibility through a state law, and then the two yellow states that you see there added it through the court system. So what's interesting to note is Oregon, way up there in the corner, just beneath Washington there, they were the first state to offer this third possibility, but it was only back in 2017. So since then, 16 states and the District of Columbia have added this possibility to their legal documents. So the landscape is changing pretty quickly, and it's moving towards acceptance and recognition. So now, what can we do as hospitality employers who are probably going to be hiring a lot more diverse gender people over the next few years? What can we do to make sure that they feel welcome and included and comfortable and really want to work in our hotels and restaurants? So I have a few suggestions for you. Sharing of pronouns is a great first step to creating a more gender-inclusive environment. For those that are comfortable, and this is a really, really important point, only if they're comfortable doing so, you can share pronouns with people before a meeting. Just go around the table and say, you know, my pronouns are he, him, and his. You could have a manager and an employee do it during a new hire session. You put it on your name tags. You can put it in your email signatures. It's just a really easy and effective way to let your coworkers know how you would like to be addressed and to cut down on any confusion. Go through your job applications, and if you're still asking a question about gender on there, consider removing it for two reasons. One, it's irrelevant for most of the jobs in the hospitality industry anyway, and secondly, it's actually illegal in certain states. So you definitely want to check with your state. If you're still doing it, it's possibly illegal, so you might want to remove it for that reason. Go through your benefits package and see if make sure there's no gender discrimination in there. Make sure that everything that you offer in terms of benefits is available to everyone of all genders. Go through your handbook. You'll probably find a lot of examples of gender-based language in your handbook. Here's an example from our handbook at Ivers, where we use the terms he or she and his or her, that we can easily replace those with they and their. And then it instantly makes our handbook more welcoming, more inclusive to everyone of all genders. Additionally, if you have an anti-harassment statement in your handbook, you might want to consider adding gender identity or gender expression to the list of items for which harassment will not be tolerated. Go through your dress code and again look for any examples of gender-based language in there. You'll probably find things like men with short hair or women with long hair, and you can easily replace those words with employees. Look for any gender-based restrictions as well. If you have things like men cannot wear earrings or only women can wear makeup, consider removing those for 2 reasons: because it makes your handbook, or makes your dress code more inclusive of people of all genders, and secondly, like the application question, in some states it's actually illegal to have gender-based restrictions in your dress code. If you're not already doing so, consider offering training to your employees on gender diversity. It helps them to learn the difference between the difference between the terms sex and gender, the different types of gender, and steps that they can take to create a more inclusive workplace. For visibility, I have 2 suggestions. If you are, if you celebrate Pride Month, which happens every year in June, you could allow your gender diverse employees to wear a pride flag sticker or a pride flag pin on their name tag or uniform. Now, there's a lot of different pride flags. I know a lot of people think there might be only one. There's quite a few, depending on what you're proud of. The colors that I use for my presentation here, these are the colors of the non-binary pride flag, for example. So the other thing I'd say about visibility is if you're creating any materials for your marketing or from your marketing department that you're going to use in training or you're going to use in recruiting, consider including or asking your gender diverse employees if they'd like to be included in photo shoots for those materials to help signal to prospective applicants and any new hires that they are welcome in your workplace. Finally, restrooms. If you have single-use restrooms that's just one person at a time can go in, consider changing them from one male restroom or one men's room and one ladies' room to 2 gender-neutral restrooms so that anyone of any gender can use any restroom at any time. You can get the signs almost anywhere. Here are a few examples that I found right on Amazon.com. So I have a lot of other suggestions and I have a list of resources. If you would like them, please come find me after this session. Give me your business card or connect with me on the Whova app. I'd be happy to provide that list with you. Thank you very much for listening today. It's been very much appreciated. And thank you for striving to create hospitality workplaces that are welcome for everyone. Thank you.